We can kick it off. Yeah, thanks everyone for coming for another ACF Chat Fridays. This is our monthly open office hours with the ACF team, where it's very, very sort of free format at the moment. We do the session every month and we record it, we put it on YouTube and we put it on the blog. But it's your opportunity to come and talk to the team. We've got engineers from the team, we've got Matt Shaw, we've got Phil Johnston, and we've got Mike from our Davey from our content team. So yeah, this is the opportunity to come and talk about what you're either struggling with ACF, anything you want to see in ACF, and any just conversations about building with ACF and WordPress. And it's our chance to sort of let you know where things are going with releases and just updating you about things on the roadmap, specific features that you want to talk about. So yeah, I'll say this every time, but we've got the chat. We've also got, you can use the Q&A in Zoom if you want to do that. That is under the more option at the moment in the Zoom toolbar. But yeah, also as a small amount of people, feel free just to unmute or raise your hand or whatever. But yeah, we can get questions rolling. We do typically just do open Q&A session, which sometimes it runs short. Sometimes we get questions that come and they're quite in-depth technical things. So, but we're happy to answer whatever. We were doing some topics. We haven't got back to topics, but very open to suggestions if people want specific Chat Friday sessions around a specific topic. If they've got any suggestions, just drop them in the chat. In terms of ACF news, before we kick off, we're wrapping up from a development point of view the release candidate release for ACF 6.4, which we're hoping to get through testing and get released very soon. So that is the sort of the imminent update, I guess. And if you do want to hear about that, because as I said, it's release candidate 1 for ACF 6.4, the best way to find out when that actually drops, which will be available in the My Account section of the advancedcustomfields.com site. But if you want to hear that straight away, please sign up to the beta news email list that I've just dropped the link in the chat. And we'll send an email out when that release gets released, so you can start using the release candidate and start testing stuff out. Hopefully not on production, but obviously your risk tolerance might be different. But yeah, please, if you do get time to kick the tires, 6.4 and the release candidate has the WooCommerce HPOS support. So it's support for WooCommerce's high performance order storage system, where orders and subsequent bits of WooCommerce data are not stored in the post table or the post meta table. They're stored in their own custom table. And if you're using HPOS, you won't be able to get ACF fields on those screens because just the change of where that data is stored. But 6.4 brings integration and support for HPOS. So yeah, if you're running a WooCommerce store and you've got custom fields on the edit order screens, then this is the release you want to be testing and check-in works on your staging or development version of your e-commerce store. Because yeah, testing on production e-commerce is far too hairy for my liking. But yeah, that's coming out shortly. I don't think we've got too much else. Nothing going on in the sort of the community world in terms of we've just got some blog posts, but yeah, no, we're still rocking and rolling. We'll be working on the biggest next features that will be coming out in future releases are things that we've probably talked about before, but the registration UI inside the plugin for creating ACF blocks. So if you're an ACF Pro customer and you use ACF blocks, this gives you an ability to create the block.json very easily from the settings, similar to our custom post type registration UI, where you can register it right within the plugin. All of the settings and the different configuration options are there and easily to explain, and then create a block.json from that. And the other main thing that we're working on is enhancing the user experience of editing data for ACF blocks. Because when you're in the block editor and you've got an ACF block which has field values and field data and field inputs, we've got the sidebar and you've got the preview in the block editor, and then it turns into the edit mode. And there's obviously some user experience sort of negatives with that, because if depending on how much fields you've got, and if you're using things like repeaters, and we're also trying to improve the user experience to make it a little bit more like core blocks, where you can just edit in line rather than turning the block into a form and filling that the data on the form. Like the template may have text and text areas on it, and you'll be able to edit that in line as it were for like paragraph blocks where you just put the cursor and start typing. So yeah, we're looking to make the editing experience much more tighter to WordPress's core experience and core blocks. So, and those will be coming, yeah, a bit later in the year. So I'll stop talking and say, go nuts on the chat. Let's drop some stuff in, unmute, and let's get the conversation started.
Morning. I was just kind of joining in, listening. I like to attend and kind of hear what's going on and hear what people have, just to kind of explore ideas and stuff. So I don't really have any questions. It's just more, I like to join it more for informational purposes, see what's going on. If somebody else has something going on, they're useful, what they're using to kind of explore ideas as well. So.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming and hanging out. I guess Richard, thank you for unmuting. That's really helpful. What is your build process at the moment with ACF and WordPress? Are you fully into the block editor? Are you still a little bit classic? Are you hybrid? How are you finding it?
Sure. Yeah. We've kind of switched more to using blocks. Just migrating over with Gutenberg and using the block more so. We still, if it's something we need to really control, like if we're doing a custom post type or something, we'll probably just utilize standard ACF in that fashion for the fields, just because we want to control it. But we'll then turn around and maybe make a block that's they can edit and add some options or something to help out with it. But primarily from a display standpoint, we've been using block more so. I've actually kind of set up within our system to look for like an ACF folder within the plugin, and I'll drop in group JSON files in there with the structure. I've also got it for like locally, you can edit through the UI to not have to worry about trying to manually configure your the group files. And then of course, when we go to production, I basically don't allow that. So that way we don't have people going in, mainly for like clients and stuff. I don't want them going in and deleting something or messing with something. So I don't have the JSON files being loaded in, or I say JSON, we're using PHP, sorry.
Yeah.
So like I basically just have a script that just goes through, looks for the PHP files and loads them up to inject all the group files for whatever we need, whether it be options, blocks, and then I basically have the same kind of thing. I just kind of in a blocks directory, it basically just loops through and finds anywhere there's a block.json, and it automatically load in that block.json with a folder, and basically just have like a initializing class that for each one of those. And so it's kind of automated a little bit to where now I can just, all I gotta do is just create a folder, create a block.json, create a templates directory and my class file, and it basically just initializes everything for me. Trying to speed up development for our team, to make building blocks a little bit quicker and easier, and not have to worry about making sure everything's initialized right, or including manually including the blocks and stuff like that. So it's kind of automated, and I've got similar structure for like a theme standpoint.
Nice. That sounds
then
slick.
I've tried to leverage having independent SAS files and JS files within the blocks, and having a build system with that as well. So that way each one can have its own unique, primarily so that way if you need to remove a block, you just delete the folder and everything that's included with it is gone. And I've added in like hooks for um, within the plugin. So when the block's initialized, like I have a hook that I just alert so that way from a theme standpoint, if you wanted to inject something or override something, using templates within the theme or just using the hook to inject your own CSS or JS or whatever you need. Um, we're mainly doing it, building the plugin and the theme, so it's not really needed. But I like to have flexibility, so that way if I'm building a block and then somebody wants to do something and change the styling on it, they can do it per theme. And that way, if we need a redesign, we can change the theme and not have to like worry about the block structure itself. So
Yeah,
that's kind of
yeah, I
my
think
my world.
nice. Yeah, I think that seems to be quite a commonly good way to do it. Like build the blocks at the generic level for the plugin, but then skin it
Yeah.
separately in the theme. Um, yeah, that sounds good. Is there anything from because it's a really good kind of like development tooling perspective to hear, but is there anything that is in the plugin in terms of like missing filters or things that we don't do that make it harder for you to do that? Is there anything that you'd like to see to enhance that sort of tooling process?
Um, I mean, I like the direction that y'all are going as far as like the dynamic to be utilized within like a query loop or something like that. Just that way, if you created the custom post type, then you can essentially kind of create something on the fly without having to create the block. That's more, I guess in some instances to make things slightly faster for certain things, but then I get into, well, the query loop doesn't do the kind of filtering that I want to do. So then I'm back to potentially creating a block. But that's really the biggest thing that I've seen of interest, but I've also been in other coding world lately, so I haven't fully been able to keep up with the ACF. Um, the latest things that y'all have had on there. I think the last thing I saw was that y'all had the color picker on there, or the icon picker, which is kind of cool.
Yes.
I done something similar to that where I was just loading in a font awesome as an option and kind of created my own little icon tool for some projects. But uh, I'll have to go back in and look and see how y'all are doing that. But other than that, I haven't really had anything that is really preventing me. Because like I said, I can pretty much do whatever I need within a block. Um, and using like nested blocks and stuff like that. I've done those and allowed for it's been nice to build a lot down and allow certain block to be able to be used within a block and all through ACF and then just loading it in. So um, I've done a lot of work and it's been a lot of use, giving us a lot of capabilities.
Yeah, that's good to hear. The thing you mentioned about the query loop block and adding fields to that, that's a conversation I think we had not that long ago internally, thinking about how could we make that even easier to, yeah, for that example of you want to loop through custom post types and then also show some of the field data in that query loop block. And it's not an easy way to do that really with ACF fields at the moment. But I think we kind of almost came to the same conclusion of like, if you need to do that and you need to do more with the ACF fields, then the query loop block becomes, is it the right place to do it? And then you probably need a custom block situation anyway. Um, so that is a bit of a technical challenge, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the enhancements that Joel have been working on has been, um, I have, there's some of the things that y'all have that I haven't used quite yet, but, obviously the editing, um, certain types of the fields, doing inline editing and stuff instead of using form fields and stuff. I mean, that's kind of cool to hear. I don't think I've gotten to a use case of that just yet or tested anything out, but I know
Yeah.
that y'all had some of that a while back. I don't know where the stage of it is at. Like I said, I've been kind of in another world lately, but uh,
Yeah, the inline editing piece is coming soon rather than there's no releases that we've got at the moment for testing on that. But yeah, I think from our point of view, that's just going to be a really good um a really good experience for the content editors just to be able to not kind of break out of, or having to break out of the pattern of WordPress's core blocks and see this edit form. They can just drop the cursor and edit. So yeah, we're excited about that as well. And actually, what you mentioned, the icon picker as well, that even though it's not going to be in the 6.4 release, but it will hopefully be soon after, we're adding the ability to, because at the moment the icon picker is the dash icons, so you can select easily from those. You can select a file from the media library, or you could use a URL. But we're adding the ability to kind of add a custom tab for that field and give it a set of icons that might be on the file system in the theme, for example, like a custom icon set, or you could pipe in Font Awesome, an array of the icons from Font Awesome and use it that way. But you get the UI and the search and the sort of the user experience that we've got for the dash icons view in the icon picker field. So that's going to be, I think that will help people out more than we think. It will be one of those things that people just must be constantly using custom icon sets for clients so they can, add and decorate content with icons, but the experience of actually selecting those icons isn't easy until unless you add your own custom sort of field, which sounds like you might have done already with the Font Awesome stuff. But yeah, that we're excited for that, and that will be coming after 6.4.
Yeah, I think the only other things that I typically run into, and it's not really ACF related, it's just more of there's certain things. Well, I guess I don't know if it's, sorry again, I haven't been in the block building in a little bit, but I don't remember if it was like utilizing more of the core like attributes and stuff within. I know there's, I'm trying to remember back. Like I said, it's been a little bit since I've been in that world. Because I know sometimes it's either like extending functionality of a core block or just leveraging some of the core attributes within a block, an ACF block. But I'd have to get more, go back in and try to remember exactly where I was running into.
Yeah, I believe we've got pretty good coverage for the attributes that get passed through the block.json into the block render template, and you detect what attributes are being passed, and then obviously do some conditional stuff within the PHP render template. But yeah, if you do get the time and you look back at what was the issue, it may be fixed already, or it's maybe something we haven't tackled. But yeah, feel free to drop us an email about it, and we can look into it. But yeah, we're trying to at least make sure that the block.json method of registering blocks inherits as much as possible from WordPress's native block layout and attributes and all of the sort of arguments that get passed through. But I guess it's just some of those attributes aren't always usable in the PHP render template. I guess it's styling and
Yeah.
And for the most part. But yeah, do let us know if there is anything specific that you come across. But I appreciate, as you say, you're not perhaps building at the moment.
Yeah, like I mean, it's what we've needed so far. I mean, we've been able to accomplish in some fashion or another.
Yeah.
But like I said, that what I'm thinking of specifically is it's been a while, so I just can't pull it out of the old brain cells here.
Yeah.
You mentioned locking things down in production there, and I was curious. Yeah, is that working well for you? Do you have what you need for that as well?
Yeah, I think it was. I don't know if it was from ACF Extended that he was loading in the way that he was loading them in. So basically, I just if it's not, I basically just have code in that if it's not using like a local environment, then I basically just don't inject it for the backend.
Right.
And so that's fine. The only thing that I have found that becomes a problem sometimes is getting like because when it's loading into if I'm loading it into the PHP so that I can edit it, I've got script that basically says that, hey, when the group is updated, I'm basically looking for the file with that group name, and if it's there, then I'm replacing the contents of it. But it still gets stored in the database, and then sometimes I've had some issues where it's still pulling from the database even though I've made a change to the file. And so like that's the only thing that I've come into as an issue. And I think it's more of an issue that I kind of created for myself because of the way I'm, kind of loading everything in. But that's the only thing that I would say from that structure that's caused me some headaches at times is, just the fact that locally it's, obviously it's pulling it from the database. And so I'll just go in and sometimes I just have to remember to go in and delete the group from the UI, and it reloads. Well, delete the group from the UI, and then
and that's just in your
your
local build environment that you're
correct. Yes.
Yeah. Got it. Cool.
But yeah, once it's in a production dev environment, then
it's not in the database.
It's always just pulling from the PHP, and I don't have any problems because at that point we just want it to be a read-only kind of instance anyways.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
I think it might be worth reaching out to our support and would just pick it up directly if you run into that again, because I am curious why, because PHP should always take precedence over
I was going to say
groups or anything stored in the UI. So I'd be just wondering, like, if maybe something's getting initialized a little bit too late, or if there might be a way to fix that. But yeah, would be happy to take a look at that.
Yeah, I can send you over what I'm doing, and just if you say anything that's outstanding or whatever, then I'm more than happy to adjust. But
I set it up exactly the same. I do the exact same thing that you're describing. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I like that flow.
Yeah.
And I know that you're talking a bit more specifically around how you do things differently on the live site and the production site, but I just wanted to drop a link into the chat just as this is quite a good doc for just generally turning off the ACF custom fields editor in either production or for certain users, so you can kind of keep the editing of fields to your local site or your staging site and not have that ability to change the definitions on production. Just thought I'd call that out for other people.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've got I think I was doing it a little bit differently in terms of just checking for if they somehow got to something in the back end and whatnot, that I would just kind of kick them back out or whatever the case is. I'd go back and look at exactly what I set up. But yeah, I've tried to make sure, number one, that I'm not loading it into that. If you were to somehow try to edit a group, even though none of our clients are ever going to even get to that point, but even if you could get the URL that it would try to load it, I'm checking to see if you're not local, that it kicks you out anyways.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's been a good conversation. Thanks, Richard.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else from anyone? Has that sparked any thoughts or questions? I don't want to monopolize by just chatting to you, Richard, but yeah, you're definitely making me think about good stuff. So it's good to hear about, building with blocks, but building with ACF blocks and having these processes that make it like building with ACF blocks as quick is quick, right? And it's quicker than building custom blocks with React. But what you're talking about is really sort of creating a process around reusing things and making it easier for collaboration and starting quicker. Like, so the development side is super slick there. That's really speedy.
Yeah, and it's not everybody has the React knowledge as well. And I'm also trying to make it, quicker for whoever on our team, to be able to spin those up. So that was the key goal of it all. I mean, I'm not the sharpest on the React world either. So, it took me a while to build those out. So, I mean, kudos to y'all for getting this going, because it just makes my life so much easier.
Yeah.
With doing blocks, because like I said, I mean, I create the block.json, and I mean, for creating a group for the block, I basically just use a copy the wrapper contents and strip out all the fields within it, swap out the group name, group ID, just grab it in the unique ID. When I create the PHP file, and then change out the group and just leave the fields empty, load it up on the back end, do whatever fields I need, just to make it easier from the UI. So I make sure that I get all the right settings that I need. And then when I save it, I've got my PHP file, for my block. I mean, it just makes, so far it's made the life of building the blocks so much easier.
Yeah.
And then just rendering it out. I think the key thing that I had issues with initially was just working with the kind of native native at the classes and whatnot that WordPress would do. So can't think of the function right now, but so basically having it build out classes and IDs, and utilizing all of that, and trying to leverage the WordPress stuff instead of trying to loop through all the block data and parsing it all back out to render it back out. So those were some headaches that I ran into earlier on, and obviously it progressed since then. But those were, I mean, it's night and day. I mean, I can think of when somebody asks for something, I'm ready constructually thinking of the ACF block that I want to build out and how I want to build it out. And, I can spin up a block in 10-15 minutes kind of thing, depending on the complexity of it. So it's definitely what y'all done. It's been very, very useful for me. Made my life a lot easier.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And do you have a sense from your sort of clients, the people who are ultimately editing that content using the blocks, what their experience is like? You've obviously moved them from a classic editing experience to the block editor, but do you ever hear stuff around, oh, I wish I could do this, or the blocks are good, but like, because we're obviously trying to empower you in terms of development, but also allowing you to build really good editing experiences for the clients, and hence we're doing things like inline editing and trying to improve the edit form, because they're just slightly off and they're not quite right, and we want to make that better so things are seamless for the content editors. But if you've got any feedback perhaps from your clients and those editors, that might be helpful.
I mean, to be honest, I hear a lot of negativity of Gutenberg. I haven't experienced that myself. I mean, it took me a little bit to get used to Gutenberg in a sense. But now with the blocks, to be able to control them and have the layout the way it is, I mean, it's nice to be able to see what's going on. And obviously there's some making sure you've got the right styles, both in editor, front end, I mean, there's some hiccups that you have to deal with, but I mean, it's easy to overcome it. But most of our clients, we've switched them over, the ones that actually like to use, actually go in and do stuff on their own. They've actually liked it. They like the blocks. They like to be able to just, add things on and not have the complexity of actual builders per se. Just be able to minimize, you can kind of control what you want and give them flexibility of what you want. And obviously being able to leverage child blocks and using the core blocks within them, as nested blocks, it's, it's nice to be able to build things out. I mean, I've made it to where, I've kind of locked things down to an extent for a client, and that was their choice, but it gave them flexibility. And so, kind of using templated layouts to an extent, and then, they can only add certain blocks to it, but still kind of give them ability to basically drag over a block that's already got block structure with nested blocks. So all they got to do is just change out content, it makes it easier for them. But then still gives them some flexibility. That's all stuff that's made a little bit easier. But even for us, I mean, a lot of times we're, as the agency where we're actually doing a lot of the work. And so we've got a multi-site right now with the healthcare system that's got multiple sites and people going in, and so we've kind of restricted some things a little bit more, but we can still do decide what they want to, what they're allowed to do within a block, and that's where we use like icons. We limit which kind of icons that they can choose, but it gives them the ability to kind of select those type of deals and make things a lot easier. You still kind of structure the way it's going to render, but at least you still give them some flexibility and give them some options.
Yeah, that's kind of, it's such good validation to hear that, like, how we think about the use case for blocks and how people would build with blocks is actually exactly what you're saying, and it's giving flexibility, but not too much, and not too little, but giving the ability for them to do what they need to do, without a large overhead in terms of development, and then also a large risk of, like, well, we've just built this lovely site with a huge amount of core blocks and group blocks and column blocks, and then suddenly the client goes in and moves something and it all kind of falls apart in terms of the overall design, because it's still very much a template system, very much a prescribed design, but with the flexibility of the data and the flexibility of some blocks of various sizes, rather than just everything being very granular. So that, that's good to hear.
I mean, you still have those, that's kind of the negatives of the Gutenberg compared to, the old classic page templates and stuff, because I mean, it's kind of locked down and you don't get as much flexibility, and so there is room for breakage and throwing off designs. But at the same time, I mean, I find it's really nice to have them be able to spin up a new page and create a new page template without having to go in. I mean, it speeds my time up too. Like, I don't have to go in to the file system to create a new one at times. And if you create a few different variations of your block, then you can give them some different ways of laying things out, and can build out a page quicker. So I mean, I've found more pluses than I have minuses of Gutenberg in a sense, other than the fact, like you were just saying, there is that possibility of somebody going in and jacking something up with that as well. But I think that's just more of a training, and it kind of keeps us busy too. If they do mess it up, then typically we're the ones that they'll call, so we'll go in and fix it.
Yeah, there is that as well. Yeah, that's a good point. Nice. Yeah, thank you, Richard. Sorry to put you on the spot today, but that's been really helpful.
No.
I guess we are sort of coming to, the end of the 45 minutes in a bit. So yeah, if there is any other questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I haven't actually checked the Q&A. That would be awkward if there was a load of Q&A stuff. I hadn't noticed it. But no, yeah, this is kind of a good chance for last minute questions. But it is good to hear that, like, from a blocks point of view, and specifically ACF blocks point of view, the use cases are there as we expect, and the things that we're building are on the right track. So, and really, ACF blocks is such an important feature to ACF right now, and to how people, and we're talking about, freelancers, agencies, people building for clients. That's how it's important for them, ACF blocks. So yeah, it's always good to hear that kind of validation even more, because it's going to be a big part of the next couple of releases as well. So nice. Alrighty, well, yeah, we haven't got any more questions, but I think that's been a really helpful session. Richard, big thanks to you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for participating, and the others, Anna, and yeah, thanks for coming. We will see you in a month's time. Let me just check the date, because I don't want to say the wrong thing. What are we on? It'll be the 4th. Yes, it will be the 4th of April. Friday the 4th of April will be the next session. So I'll put the registration link on the website after this. And as I said, we'll get this video up on YouTube. We'll get the blog post done. And we will see you next time. Thanks very much for coming.